Okay, we're gonna make some English muffins today. So what we need is a cup of warm water, which it's pretty cool outside today here in Florida, so I'm gonna use a cup of hot water because the bowl is going to absorb a lot of the heat from the water. Alright, so we need a cup of warm water and we need a half cup of scalded milk. Okay, that's a half cup of scalded milk. Now what I did was I put the milk in the microwave, and when it boiled I took it out. Okay, so there's a cup of warm water. Now to that I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water. Alright, so there's 1 and 2. Okay. Now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of sugar, which I have in here. I have brown sugar in here. You could use white sugar if you want. 2 teaspoons and 1 teaspoon of salt, which is in here. Okay, that goes in. Alright, now we're going to add 1 package of dry yeast. Now 1 package of yeast is 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. Alright, so there's 1, there's 2. Now here's 1/4. Okay, so that's 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. Alrighty, now we're going to let this sit. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, we're going to add 2 cups of flour to it, and then we're going to let it sit. Alright. I was just checking the temperature there. Temperature's fine. Alright, so we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Okay, it's all-purpose, 2 cups. Oh, and by the way, the flour is sifted, in case you're wondering. The flour is, I sifted it earlier to save some time. Alright. Okay, now listen. On this recipe, you do not want to build up any gluten, which means you do not want to mix it, and knead it. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. You just want to mix it until it's incorporated, and that's enough. You don't want to build up gluten. See, with English muffins, with crumpets, you want the large bubbles. That's, the nooks and crannies, as they say. So you don't really want to knead it, very much, because the more you knead it, the smaller the bubbles are going to be. Okay? That's what produces the gluten, is when, the more you knead it. So you don't really want to knead it, just incorporate it. Okay, just like that. Now I'm gonna let this sit for an hour and a half in a warm area, in a warm space. 1.5 hours. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna rise, and then eventually it's gonna drop back into itself. So that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for it to drop back into itself. Alright, so let's put a warm towel over it. I'm going to put it on the stove. The oven is on. The oven's on 425. So you have to be careful that where you put it on the stove, don't put it in a spot where it's going to cook it. You know what I mean? You have to make sure that it's not going to be cooked. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a towel, and I have a cast iron skillet on the stove where the oven exhausts. On an electric stove, it's usually the the burner on the back left where the heat comes out of. So you can feel the heat coming out. So anyway, I'm going to put the towel in the cast iron skillet, and I'm going to set this on top of the towel. I'm going to set the bowl on top of the towel, and I'm just going to let it sit for an hour and a half. I'm going to set the timer. I set the timer for 1 hour, and I'll put away this stuff here. Okay, now when it's ready, when it falls back in on itself, then I'm going to add 2 more cups of flour. No, actually a little less. I'm going to add about about 1.5 cups of flour, and I'm going to add this 3 tablespoons of butter. Okay, that's going to go in once it has risen a little bit. Once the yeast starts to work, you know, with the sugar and all of that, then I'm going to add the other flour. All right, now look, these rings are made for English muffins. Now there's 2 ways to do it. You could cook the English muffin in a saute pan like this. All right, you put the rings in, you put it on the stove, and you put it on a you know, low to medium temperature, and it'll come up, and then you flip them over and it'll cook the other side. Okay, but I don't like doing it that way. I like doing them on cookie sheets where you don't have to flip them. You just you put the muffins right on the cookie sheet, and you put them in the oven. You know, 425 degrees, and what happens is they'll cook on both the top and the bottom. So that's a nice thing. You know, I also like to use olive oil and grease the sheet with olive oil, and it gives it a nice flavor and a, you know, nice color and everything else. Okay, so that's it. I'm gonna go for an hour and a half, and I'll see you guys later.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Alrighty, here we go. Now we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of room temperature butter and a cup and a half, I'm going to leave a little bit back, of flour, and we're going to mix that together. Yep, I'm glad I kept it back because we don't need it. Alright, so again, you don't want to beat this with the machine. If you use a machine, you're going to have too much buildup of gluten. Okay, so that's it. So now I have the cookie sheet greased, and I have the rings that are greased. Okay, everything is greased. It's ready to go. Now I'm going to fill these up approximately halfway. Alright, and then I'm going to let them sit on the side again, nice warm place, and let them double in size. So let them rise up enough to where they come up to the top of the thing, you know, of the ring. Alright, also in the meantime, I'm going to put these into the refrigerator. You don't want it to rise anymore now. It's done enough rising. So they're going to go in the fridge. We do want these to rise, the ones that are on the ones that are in the rings. Yes, we do want those to rise. But the majority of it here in the bowl, no, we don't. By the way, this is going to make 8 muffins. So, alright. Gonna put the wet towel back on here and then into the fridge. Is that gonna fit? No. Yeah, kind of. Okay, now we have to let these rise. Now what I have here, alright, I'm just going to brush the tops with a little bit more oil and then we'll let them rise. The Queen is probably going to have some crumpets today at some point. Oh, Queenie, would you like your crumpets? Oh, yes. I like crumpets. Queenie eats a lot of crumpets. She's an old crumpet gal. Okay, there we go. All right. Now I'm going to put these back and let them proof a little more. Alright, that's it. I'll be back once they are proofed and they go into the oven.
One eternity later.
Okay, here they are. They're proofed and they're ready to go. $425-degree oven. I'm going to take the other ones out of the refrigerator. They won't warm up by the time those are done, so don't worry about it. Alright, see you in a little while. Hold on, let me set this timer. There we go. Okay, see ya. Okay, here we have them. English crumpets. Woo, they're hot. All right, I've got 4 more to make, and I have to use the rings again. So what I'm going to do is well, plus I have to use the cookie sheet, but I'm going to use a different cookie sheet for this one. I'm going to let that one cool off. And here, take a look at the bottoms. Oh, they're beautiful. Woo, man. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there you go. I'm going to oil the cookie sheet. Okay, and I go. Things now the testation. Oh, those screws. Oh, no, no. I was using a little more. I started to check the same with the main body, and then I put them on. Alright, I'll give you off the. Let me try it. Okay, gonna fill hot. Do it. Place it on the side of the route. And then I'm put over. You know, heads on. Head on over top. Then I layer. And put them to them. Couple of 10 minutes or so. Alright, let's see what one of these look like. Oh! Alright, here we go, the test. Oh, baby. There you go. Man, they smell very nice. So there you go. Now you're going to toast them on both sides. Well, you know, throw them in the toaster. They'll get toasted. And boy, oh boy, they smell great. All right. Okay, here we go. These are a little bit smaller, as you can see. So they're going in the oven, 425 degrees. for about 10 minutes and then 4 minutes of broiler. Now I told you 11 minutes on the other ones, but they were a lot thicker. So these I'm going to do 10 minutes on 10 minutes in the oven and then 4 minutes with the broiler on. Alright, catch you later. I gotta go. I gotta eat.